Hi again, everybody. The votes are in. The ballots counted. Election night in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana could have major implications on some of the nation's biggest issues. Thanks a lot for being with us and trusting us at 11. I'm Mike Dardis.
And good evening to you. I'm Cherie Palello. So it is an overwhelming victory for supporters of reproductive rights in Ohio. Issue 1 passing, protecting the right to an abortion in Ohio. We're going to hear from both sides of this very emotional issue.
And people 21 and older in the state of Ohio will soon be able to smoke marijuana legally. Voters approving issue 2 and recreational pot in the state of Ohio. In Kentucky, big night there. An early call tonight for the incumbent Democratic governor, Andy Beshear. He will serve 4 more years, beating the Republican. The challenger, Daniel Cameron. Beshear will get to keep his seat as the leader of the Bluegrass, and we were there when he declared victory tonight.
I stand here excited and optimistic about what we're going to do these next 4 years together. It was a victory that sends a loud, clear message. A message that candidates should run for something and not against someone.
So we're going to have much more on the Kentucky governor's race and the big rail sale here in Cincinnati, which appears to have passed right now. But first, we want to get back to issue 1 here in Ohio, which was clearly the biggest driver motivating so many of you to hit the polls this election. Yeah,
voters had to decide whether to add a constitutional amendment that would protect reproductive rights across the state. Let's take a look at the results right now, and as you can see there, a 12-point margin with 90% of the vote in, but again, a projection that the issue will pass, the 4 vote easily beating against 56 to 44%. And we have been leading the way with live team coverage for you from Columbus, Ohio, all night long.
That's right. We begin tonight with WLWT News Vice Karen Johnson, who talked with supporters of issue 1 tonight. Hi, Karen.
Hey, Sharino. Still a little bit of a celebration going on tonight here at the Hyatt in downtown Columbus. And you know, all day today, supporters were telling me they were confident, they were optimistic, although they said they knew this was not a slam dunk. But then around 9 o'clock tonight, as they were watching the results roll in, they knew their hard work paid off. This is a historic victory for supporters of issue 1, who spent months knocking on more than 1 million doors and making more than 2.8 million phone calls. The first words spoken tonight by the co-chair of the campaign: abortion is health care. Abortion access is the law of the land in Ohio. We did it together. Ohio now becomes the 7th state where voters chose to protect access to abortion.
Passing issue 1 will be felt throughout the state and for generations and generations to come. Because Ohioans stood up, from now on, the people of Ohio will get the care that they deserve from their doctors and their healthcare providers, respecting their wishes, their bodies, their lives, and their futures.
And you know, today I spent some time with supporters down in Cincinnati, up here in Columbus, and they were telling me some of their confidence was coming from speaking with moderate Republicans who were telling them that they were going to vote yes on this issue. Reporting live downtown Columbus, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
Karen, we should also point out that campaign really just came together last year.
Yeah, and you know, one of the members of the ACLU pointed out tonight that it took 700,000 signatures. Volunteers collected 700,000 signatures in just 3 months to get this issue on the ballot.
Well, no doubt people passionate on both sides of this controversial issue. Karen Johnson, live for us tonight in Columbus. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks, guys. A divisive issue and one that really divided county by county. Here's a closer look at how our local counties voted on issue 1. Only 2 in our area voted for it. One of them, Hamilton County, overwhelming in Hamilton County. Yes vote, having it right now 65 to 35% with nearly all of the votes in, 99% you see in the top corner of your screen. Butler County also voted to protect reproductive rights. So you see 51 to 49%, and all of the votes are there in Butler County, but a very tight one there. Only 1,400 votes or so making the difference in Butler County. Different story in Warren County. This is one of those counties where the no vote takes it. 52 to 48%. Right now, as you can see, only nearly 90% in on Warren County, but it looks like it's going to be the against votes against issue 1 in Ohio winning in that county. So again, fewer than 3,000 votes in Warren County separating both sides. Tight race in Claremont County too. 52% against issue 1. 48% for, and you see all of the votes have been counted in Claremont County. Only about 2,600 votes separating both sides. Now in Brown, Clinton, Highland, Adams counties, the majority of people also voting against issue 1. But as you know by now, issue 1 passed in Ohio.
Right, interesting to see the breakdown there, Mike. All right, so the Archdiocese of Cincinnati calling the passage of issue 1 deeply disturbing, saying in a statement tonight that the people of Ohio missed an important opportunity here. WLWT News 5's John London is also live in Columbus with reaction tonight from the No campaign. Hi, John.
Yeah, Cherie, they turned out the lights here a little bit ago. The empty room inside reflecting the empty feeling for the No on 1 campaign that nevertheless said its commitment to continue efforts for the anti-abortion movement will go on and to try to change the hearts and minds of Ohioans, as Cincinnati's Archbishop put it tonight. You got Protect Ohio, Protect Women Ohio, the Center for Christian Virtue, and others who were here were praying literally for Ohio voters to draw a line in the sand, understanding that once something's put in the state constitution, it takes a vote of the people to remove it. And there's a raw reality to face for the anti-abortion movement in Ohio now as a result of the outcome. Archbishop Dennis Schnurr saying tonight Ohio missed an opportunity to protect preborn children, women, and the fundamental rights of parents.
The passage of issue 1 shows that there remains a desperate need for conversion of minds and hearts to a culture of life in our country, one that respects the inherent dignity and sacredness of every human being from conception to natural death.
CCV President Aaron Baer stated tonight that the work starts tomorrow. Now, just what that will be politically, what's feasible, is not yet clear. But certainly a lot of analyzing will be going on, a lot of soul searching in the anti-abortion movement. It's not only the result tonight, but it's the margin. Reporting live in Columbus, John London, WLWT News 5.
All right, John, thanks so much. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, the Democrat, is going to celebrate 4 more years as he claims victory tonight over the Republican challenger, Daniel Cameron.
Yeah, and this was really interesting when you look at this race. Despite Republicans winning all of the other key state races, Beshear won over voters in the battle for the governor's seat. WLWT News 5's Ashley Kirkland is live from the Democratic Victory Party down in Louisville tonight. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, guys. Well, the party wrapped up here a few minutes ago, short time ago, as supporters of Beshear celebrated his second time around. Kentuckians, Democrat and Republican, said yes to 4 more years of Beshear. And this time around, Beshear didn't merely just skate by like he did in his first win as governor. He won by quite a large margin, as the polls show right now, by against Daniel Cameron, about 20,000 votes, as the current polls show. Now, winning big in metro areas like Jefferson County here in Louisville and Fayette County in Lexington. Now, in our area, Beshear winning Campbell and Kenton counties, and tonight, Beshear briefly reflecting on the past, but looking ahead to what's to come.
Over these next 4 years, it's time for a couple things. First, it's time to get our educators the big pay raise they deserve. It's time for universal pre-K for every Kentucky child. We're going to keep attracting new jobs and new industries, building our workforce, building the Kentucky we have always dreamed of. And it's amazing that we're here because we have been through a lot together. Devastating tornadoes in the west, historic flooding in the east. And after each, I made a promise that I would help rebuild every home and every life. And thanks to the people of Kentucky, and thanks to this election, we're going to see that promise through.
And you can imagine the Beshear team getting some rest tonight after a long campaign and now a victory. I am told that tomorrow at noon, he and Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman will be holding a press conference in Frankfort to talk about just their plans going forward here in Kentucky. Live here in Louisville, Ashley Kirkland, WLWT News 5.
Ashley, northern Kentucky counties, how did they vote in this?
Yeah, so we had Boone County, which got Boone County, Gallatin, Grant County, those all went for Daniel Cameron. Boone County producing the biggest chunk of votes, about over 22,000 votes for Daniel Cameron. Of course, some of those other counties, more rural, not many votes there, but those counties went for Daniel Cameron there, and our other Campbell and Kenton County went for Governor Andy Beshear. Mike?
All right, Ashley Kirkland live in Louisville tonight. Thank you so much. So what becomes of the AG, well, now soon to be former AG Daniel Cameron? A lot of talk that maybe someday when U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has to step aside, perhaps.
If he might be the next one.
He might be the person that they look at in the Republican Party. But Daniel Cameron, he did give the governor a run for his money tonight, but in the end, not enough.
Yeah, not even the endorsement of former President Trump could convince voters to sway their vote for governor. WLWT News 5's Chris Jacobs joining us live from the Daniel Cameron watch party that has ended in certainly a disappointing night for him and his supporters.
Yeah, and Daniel Cameron making that concession a little after 9 tonight. He was met with a big round of applause when he took the stage, but you could certainly sense that disappointment in his voice. Now, the hundreds of supporters and voters that came out to hopefully see his victory, they left pretty quickly after Cameron finished that speech. He started by saying this isn't exactly how he wanted the night to go, but he says he spoke with Governor Beshear to congratulate him and wished him well on this upcoming term. Overall, the speech was brief. It only lasted about 5 or 6 minutes. Now, his wife standing beside him as he made the concessions, but he touched on some important issues. He talked about this election being for future generations of the Commonwealth and said this election's turnout should be an example for the rest of the country.
We want a better Commonwealth, one in which it can ultimately be a shining city on a hill, a model and example for the rest of the nation to follow. And so, as I did with Governor Beshear, I want all of us to think about what these next few decades will look like. And I ask that you pray for Governor Beshear and his team and for all of our Commonwealth. Because at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, what ultimately matters is that we know that Christ is on the throne.
And tonight's watch party wasn't all about defeat. Both Republican candidates, Michael Adams, Russell Coleman, the Secretary of State and Attorney General, both winning their races. We heard from both of them thanking voters as well as thanking their team. Now, as you mentioned, we heard from Cameron as well. He has not said what his plans for the future will be. Reporting live in Louisville, Chris Jacobs, WLWT News 5.
All right, Chris, thank you. Back to Ohio now, and another record win in Ohio, voters deciding to legalize recreational marijuana.
Yeah, people 21 and older will be able to smoke legally, also grow legally. We'll talk more about that in the coming days. And tonight, there's the results, though, with 89% of the vote in, a 12-point spread there for the yes vote on issue 2, a projected winner. And WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes has been with this for weeks and weeks covering this issue, and he's live in Columbus to talk more about this new law and the changes ahead.
Big changes ahead, Mike and Sheree, for sure. By giving the green light to issue 2, voters are saying it is time for Ohio to join the more than 20 other states that have embraced the full legalization of marijuana. What passed today is a citizen-initiated statute that will take effect in 30 days, but that doesn't mean that legal weed is going to be for sale next month. In fact, the spokesman for the Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, the group behind issue 2, says the state's Department of Commerce will have 9 months to work on and finalize the rules governing Ohio's now new recreational marijuana program. That process should be done by the end of next summer, and that will pave the way for legal weed to be sold at licensed dispensaries in cities that decide to welcome them.
This was a landslide victory for issue 2. I mean, Ohioans spoke loud, they spoke clear. They want marijuana regulated like alcohol. They want to get rid of the illicit market. They want to bring that tax revenue back from the state of Michigan and to bring it and invest that money right back into their local communities here.
Now, the coalition behind this effort, Tom Herron, he also talked about the tax revenue that's going to be generated, where that money will go toward or what it will be used to do. A portion of that tax money will help communities that agree to be host cities for dispensaries. That's a key part of this. The cities will have to make that decision, but they'll receive revenue that would help them do things like hire more police officers or, for example, pave roads, whatever those communities decide to do. Other dollars are going to go toward social equity and jobs fund, and that's designed to help people that have been impacted negatively by the war on drugs. For now, reporting live tonight here in Columbus, Todd Dykes, WLWT News 5.